I'm not going to pretend that I'm a super well-known podcaster at this point, but I know what I'm doing is what I need to be doing right now. And that all started from me just making a list of the lessons that I've learned from my injury. And so for all of you guys who are out there who are going through injury recovery, I just, first of all, invite you to make a list of those lessons. And second of all, find out a way to share them. Whether it's through just journaling, whether it's through starting your own thing on social media, whatever it is. Because something that I've learned, one of the lessons that I learned that I think is in that list, is that you are the most qualified to help the person that you used to be. Today, I was flipping through some of the old notes that I had on my phone, and because I use that notes app quite a bit, pretty much every day. And I came across one from May 31st, 2023. And I'm recording this in March of 2024. And so it's been almost a year, give or take a few months. And I took this note in a hotel room in Minneapolis, Minnesota during the International Trumpet Guild conference that I was volunteering at the time. And, that was during probably one of the more difficult times of my injury recovery period because at that point, my deadline that I gave myself, deadline I put in air quotes for the people listening to just the audio, I was past that deadline that I had given myself to get better, to be able to get back to playing the trumpet, and things still weren't working out. I was still getting pain in my lip and everything. And so I was pretty depressed during that time of my life. And, but I was getting into some stuff that was helping me reframe my situation. And I just decided to make a list of some of the lessons that I've learned because of my injury. And this is what I wanted to share with you guys, just a couple of the things, but more as just kind of giving you guys a strategy for those of you getting through injury recovery, just of a way to reframe your injury as something that's working for you and not against you. Because I think that we can't do that enough, for people in our situation. And it's actually, there's a kind of a cool twist at the end that I didn't even realize was there until I just read through it literally right before recording. So I just titled it Things I Have Learned. I actually titled it Trust the Process before this show was even a thing or even a twinkle in my eye. But I just titled it Things that I have learned thanks to my injury. And I ended up coming up with over 30 lessons, and I could probably add to it now, even more so. But these were lessons that my mentors had shown me. Some of these have actually became, for those of you who are longtime friends of the podcast, these became sticky note quotes right before we started releasing episodes for the show. But, things like catching up, the concept of catching up is a dangerous mirage because for me, what I felt that I needed to do is catch up to my peers in the ability level that they had as trumpet players and as jazz musicians. And that led me to not listen to my body, to not listen to the needs that I had. And then that led to my injury, right? What's another one? Listening to your body is far more important than listening to others. Because sometimes the pressure from others becomes more important than the needs of our own body. And so, I'm not going to read all of these, obviously, but what's interesting is that I was able to come up with so many while I was kind of in a negative headspace. And I'm sure that if I were to sit down and do that now, that I would be able to come up with way, way, way more things. But doing this actually helped me get out of that negative headspace. It helped me to see my injury as something that was working for me and not against me. It helped me see everything that I had learned because of it were just blessings from in my beliefs from my Heavenly Father that He was giving me to become the man that He wanted me to become, or He wants me to become. But then the cool thing is, so I write to be continued. at the bottom of this list. But then I also was like, you know what? I need to share this with people, through whatever means. So I started brainstorming ways that I could share these lessons, because have become such important lessons for me, that I've applied in my life. And so I thought of like writing a book or doing just social media posts and videos. And if anybody knows me, I'm not a huge social media guy. So doing this podcast has actually been a huge stretch of my comfort zone. Another medium was making YouTube videos, which I guess I do now. But then at the end, I write podcast ? And I remember looking back on it, I remember writing that down. I'm like, there's no way. What? Like, I'm not a social media guy. I don't even post about I think of all the concerts that I performed before I got hurt, I may have posted about one of them, or maybe two of them. I don't know, maybe three. I've done dozens and dozens of concerts, and, could probably count on one hand how many I've actually promoted on my pages. And then live events, I'm not really big on that either. But it just makes me laugh looking back at this almost a year later, how I put podcast as a question mark, and just thought, that's way too much work. I don't want to do that. Plus, I'm just, at the time I was 23, I'm just 23 years old. There's no way that people would listen to me. And these limiting beliefs held me back for a little bit. And what's interesting is that I've never felt more free and more liberated and just feeling personally empowered since doing this podcast, because I have felt that this is just a calling that I've been given. And we're still in the early stages of it. I'm not going to pretend that it's, I'm a super well-known podcaster at this point, but I know what I'm doing is what I need to be doing right now. And that all started from me just making a list of the lessons that I've learned from my injury. And so for all of you guys who are out there who are going through injury recovery, I just, first of all, invite you to make a list of those lessons. And second of all, find out a way to share them, whether it's through just journaling, whether it's through starting your own thing on social media, whatever it is. Because something that I've learned, one of the lessons that I learned that I think is in that list, is that you are the most qualified to help the person that you used to be. And that actually comes from Ed Milet again. That's one of his adages. But I wanted to share that with you because of how much of a blessing this podcast has become. And it came from a hotel room in which I was pretty depressed. And at that time, I remember thinking, podcast, there's no way. But then I was like, well, what if there is? And then I remember asking my sister Dana, hey, I'm thinking about doing this podcast thing. What do you think would be a good logo for it? And we talked about it, and we came up with the logo that we have now. In I think August is when we ended up getting it finalized. But then I was still like, there's no way, it's just a pipe dream. And then just things kept lining up last semester, in which I just felt like that it was becoming more of a reality. And I've recently, this past week, just gotten messages from people saying that the podcast is really helping them get through their own injury. And that just makes all of it worth it for me. And so for those of you who are out there going through it, I just want to say I'm with you. Shoot me a text online or an email. Love to hear from you if this is helping you. Leave a review or share it with somebody who's going through it. And to those of you who aren't going through injury recovery, make a list of the lessons you've learned from being a musician. Like I said, becoming self-aware is hugely important to your progression as a human being and as a musician. So I hope this has been helpful. Keep on keeping on, guys. And until next time, keep trusting the process. Thanks for listening today. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. Make sure you share this with a musician you care about who is going through injury, a music educator in your life, or anyone just trying to make it in life. If you have a suggestion for a guest or topic to cover, shoot me an email at trustprocesspodcast@gmail.com or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. Before we go, I just want to give a heartfelt thank you and shout out to my team. Daniel Baldwin, who is my audio engineer, Kevin West, who does all music and sound effects for the show, Peyton Womack, our website developer, and my sister, Dana Lovell, who created the logo and promotional materials. We wouldn't have the show without them. So tune in next time for another episode of Trust the Process.